In our previous discussion, we wandered through the landscape of unfinished crafts. We dissected the brain. We mapped the grit. We found that specific mental gear that helps you grind when the friction is high. But for some of you, a different, more baffling hurdle showed up. What if finishing the race isn't your obstacle? What if your real issue is an overflow of paths? You survey your potential. You see 10 different callings. They all feel like home. You aren't avoiding the grind. No. You're like a weary traveler standing at a massive, shimmering crossroads where every single sign points to a different paradise. So you sit. You wait. You stay paralyzed on your suitcase because you're terrified of picking the wrong horizon. The world has a name for you. A dabbler. Someone who touches everything but masters nothing. It's a heavy label. It's a source of massive stress. It makes your greatest gift, that wide-ranging curiosity, feel like your biggest professional weakness. Today, we break that stress. We'll examine the architecture of a thriving career and offer a blueprint for those of us who were never meant to settle for just one role. You know, perhaps that's the real trap we've all fallen into. Or maybe it's the very thing that sets you apart. Let's find out. First, we have to recognize why traditional paths feel like a cage. For 100 years, we've put the specialist on a pedestal. The old world was a well-tended garden locked behind high stone walls. As long as you mastered one specific rosebush, your place in the sun was guaranteed. Academics call this a kind learning environment. It's a world that rewards repetition. This is the domain of the I-shaped individual, the specialist defined by a single, lonely, vertical pillar of expertise. But that's not our reality anymore, is it? Our world has evolved. It's a wicked learning environment. The map is gone. In its place, a shifting kaleidoscope. You think you see the pattern, you think you understand, then the world turns. The terrain morphs, everything becomes unrecognizable. Think about a chess player versus an ER doctor. The chess player? He's in a kind environment. The pieces move the same way. The feedback is instant. The ER doctor? Her world is wicked. Every patient is a mystery. The rules change. What worked a minute ago might kill the next person. In a chaotic, wicked world, being a hyper-specialist is a risk. It creates fatal blind spots. Now, don't get me wrong. We need specialists. Their deep dive knowledge is the backbone of progress. Specialization isn't bad. The problem is when it's sold as the only way to exist. Using that narrow ruler to judge your potential is like trying to measure the deep, dark ocean with a wooden classroom ruler. It's not built for your scale. It makes you feel like you're failing at life, when in reality, your mind is just optimized for a different landscape. To design a life that works, stop obsessing over titles. Start looking at shapes. The I-shaped person is the specialist. The dash-shaped person is the opposite. You're like a thin, shimmering film of oil spread across a vast ocean. You cover a huge surface. You look beautiful, but you have no weight. The first wave of a real challenge washes you away. But there is another way. The M-shaped professional. The true polymath. Look at it like this. Your first vertical pillar is software engineering. You go deep. That's your engine. But your second pillar is, say, architectural history. You go deep there too. And then, the horizontal bar, the connection. It's your fascination with systems, planning, and psychology. Suddenly, you aren't just a distracted engineer, you are a bridge builder. You design digital infrastructure that mirrors the organic, breathing flow of a physical city. That intersection is rare. That intersection is where the value lives. The engine of a polymath is far transfer. A specialist uses near transfer, applying a skill to a nearly identical problem. But you use cognitive magic. You take a master key forged in the wild world of biology and realize it perfectly fits the ignition of a high-tech spaceship in the world of logistics. A forest ecosystem manages resources. You see a way to optimize a supply chain. A poet masters the rhythm of language. You see a cleaner way to communicate a brand's soul. That is far transfer. It's hearing the symphony, not just the instruments. All those random rabbit holes you've fallen down, they are your library. They are the sparks for your future lightning strike insights. So, how do you build this M-shaped life? It takes a shift in strategy. Step 1. Sequential Mastery. You cannot build 4 pillars at once. So given this suggest 24 people in strategy. Step 1. Sequential Mastery. You cannot build 4 pillars at once. Step 1. Sequential Mastery. You cannot build 4 pillars at once. You may be stand perfect. So, how do you build 4 pillars at once? Step 1. Sequential Mastery. You cannot build 4 pillars at once. So that is far transfer. So how do you build 4 pillars at once? You may be stand perfect in strategy. So what is you made this perfect is well? So, how do you build 4 pillars at once? So that is far transfer. So what is you made this perfect is well? Then very build 4 pillars at once. Then you know that very build 4 pillars at once. Then you make some specials for innovate in the reason, in the difference of science building. Then you make some efforts for future. If you try, you collapse back into that shallow dash shape. You must pick 1 pillar. Dedicate yourself. Give it a window, 12 months, 18 months. Which one do you start with? The fear of picking the wrong one keeps you paralyzed. Lower the pressure. This isn't a life sentence, it's a season. Pick the stability pillar, the one that gives you financial leverage. Or pick the one with the most heat right now. Just pick. Go all in. Build that leg until it's sturdy. Reach 80% proficiency. You don't need to be the greatest on Earth. You just need functional fluency. You need to solve problems without clutching a tutorial. Once your curiosity plateaus, you move. This isn't quitting. This is a strategic pivot. It's a graduation. You are choosing to start your next pillar. This leads to the second strategy, the platform job. If your brain is wired for exploration, you need a role that provides financial peace without draining your soul. Think of Franz Kafka. He worked at an insurance institute. It was the stable, quiet soil that allowed his creative mind to tunnel into the dark depths of the human condition. Your 9-to-5 isn't just a check, it's a strategic asset. A low-drain job leaves you with a surplus of your most precious currency, cognitive energy. Reinvest that energy. Build your other pillars. A high-stakes dream job might sound great, but if it demands 110% of your spirit, it leaves no room for the cross-pollination you need to survive. Finally, you need a capture system. Let's be honest, a scanner's mind produces more ideas than it can ever use. Your mind is a restless, crackling lightning storm, but your memory is just a thin copper wire. If you don't ground those bolts, you'll end up with a blown fuse and a handful of smoke. Look at Leonardo da Vinci. He didn't just paint. He filled thousands of pages in his codices with notes on water flow, anatomy, and flight. He didn't finish every thought at once. He captured them. He linked them. When you spend a week obsessed with 1950s furniture, take notes. Put them in obsidian. Put them in a notebook. When the fire dies down, walk away. No guilt, no shame. 2 years later, you might be designing a user interface and realize the ergonomics of a mid-century chair are the perfect solution for your digital layout. That's the magic. But you have to save the ingredients before you can cook the meal. Let's bring this home. You aren't a quitter. You don't lack backbone. You are a scanner, a potential polymath. Your mind wasn't built for the static, narrow walls of the 20th century. It was built to be a translator between kingdoms. This path isn't easy. Building pillars takes time. But having a blueprint brings relief. The shame dissolves. Confidence takes its place. Pick your first pillar. Build it with intensity. Use your day job as a launch pad, not a cage. Set up a system to catch those sparks. You weren't meant to be just another brick in the wall. You were meant to be the architect who understands how the glass, the steel, and the dancing light all come together to create the cathedral. I truly believe this is where your journey actually begins. Although, the choice, as always, is yours.